Sandra here from Createinspain. Today I'm doing a little tutorial with shortcuts a lot. I've got version 6, I've got the pro version, but to be honest that makes no difference in this particular case. So here I've got some things on my workspace. I've just got the same text repeated, and I'm going to show you some different things that you can do. You may well have realised that you could do this but completely forgotten about it, or it may be new to you, but I just thought I'd do a little refresher. So the first one, I've imported an image, and to do that you just go to File, Import and Place Image. And I have made it so it's a little bit bigger than my text, but not too much. Going to slide my word over it. I'm actually going to go to the image and make it a little bit smaller. So what I'm going to do now is select all of it and go to Object, Clip Path and Set Clip Path. And this is going to fill my letters for me. Brilliant. But that's one way that you can make your text a bit more interesting. The next thing I want to show you is not strictly relating to text, but it does have a bearing on the way things cut out. And this is going to be your path. When you come down here, you'll see simplify. Now, a lot of people completely ignore this. I always use it. So click on simplify and this box will come up. And I've not altered the settings. This is what I've had it on for ages. And you can see that by doing that, on the left side, the input, I've got 74 nodes, and on the output, I've got 34. The shapes are the same. There is no problem with this at all. I can click on OK, and you don't see any difference in the way this is going to cut, but it's got about half, in fact, slightly less than half the nodes. Now, what does that mean for you? Well, it'll mean that your cutting machine, or even your laser, if you're using a laser, does things more quickly, more cleanly. Right, another one which you might not realise. Someone posted recently, I think it was on one of the laser forums, they were doing keyrings and they wanted to have initials in a circle of a keyring. So if you go up to the effects, and what you want to do is go to bulge. And here we've got top, bottom, separate. You want to go to opposite on that. And left and right, you also want to go to opposite. If indeed you are going to be using that, you may not be using it. Okay, so now when we do a top offset, this starts to round things. So we can make it so it is a lot rounder than it was. Now, if you're altering the offsets left to right, sometimes depending on the letter you've chosen, it works quite well, sometimes not quite as well. But you can see, okay, that is definitely rounder than it was. If you've got yourself a circle to fit it to, you can grab one of those, do a copy, paste in place, make that circle bigger, just take those two, make them line up, and then path exclude. I've now got a ring, okay, so I can make this an awful lot bigger. I can take my word and I can move that down. If I bring it to the front, it'll look better. There we go. And you can center it however you need. Now this is obviously a little bit too big for this, so I'm going to resize my word. So that's down quite a lot. And in this case, I'll probably have to make it considerably rounder. The letters, the L's there, are considerably higher than the other letters. But yeah, what you do is you make it fit to your ring as close as possible to the outside. You can see that's a bit too wide. I would have to draw this side in a bit to make that work. And I'll have to pull this down to make it work. Move it up by a fraction to get that H in there. Pull this down slightly. There we go. I think we've got all the letters attached. And then you select the entire lot, go to path and union. And then you have your word in there. Now, you might be thinking, well, I really can't see the word in there. If we undo this a second, I come to this ring and I copy and paste it. Just move it out the way for a moment. Break it apart. So I'll do that. Take away the outer ring. Now this ring here, I would swap to a score line. I always make my score lines green, bright green, so I can tell that it is a score line. All right. And I would set that to score instead. And I would place it over the original ring. All I have to do is to center that up. There we go. Just going to take the colour out of this so you can see what's going on. And go to none. There we go. So you then have a cut line and a score line. And what you have to do if you are going to put it together, let's take that score line and lock that one. There we go. So this is all going to go to path and union. There we are. And if I unlock my score line. If I then grab my score line and I hide that a second, you can see that is what the cut is going to look like. But then if I show the score line, you can see the word a lot better. And when you've actually got it engraved into wood, for example, if you're doing this on a laser and you're engraving, or even a CNC, and you're engraving it, it will stand out a lot better than if you don't have these letters edged. If you don't edge your letters, it's going to be very difficult to read what it actually is in most cases. Okay, so that's how you do it. So you have two different layers. You have a cut layer and you have a score layer. And if you're putting this into Xtool Creative Space, for example, if you use black and red, bright red, it actually recognizes those colors and sorts them into different layers. So you can then dedicate one layer to a score line and one to a cut. So let's move this out of the way. Okay, this one here, I'm going to go to effects and I'm going to put a drop shadow on. So you can see you have a grey shadow around here. I'm just going to make it larger so you can see it a lot more easily. There we go. Put that onto my page. Go to preview. You can see that the cut lines, I'll take off the printable there. The cut lines are not encompassing the actual print. The print is the black line. And the two don't actually match up, but don't worry about that. So this one here, this whole layer, I'm going to set to print and cut, print only. So that is going to print. It's not going to cut it. It's just going to print it. I'm going to copy it, going to paste it in place, and I'm going to set it to print and cut, cut only. Now, if you look at the preview, we still have a bit of a mess, because if I take off the printable, you can see the red cut lines. We've got two lots of cut lines, which is not going to work, is it? Just click that back on so I can see it. So what you do, for this particular layer, you set it to weld. This is your cut outline, you've welded it. If we switch off the printable, you can see that the cut lines are stepped around the shadow. So that works really, really well, and it makes it a very easy thing to do. Now, the thing that you need to remember with that, there's the printable, by the way, is that it's temporary. It doesn't affect the file itself. It's just part of a cut setting. Right, so let's go back with a hello. And one of the other things you can do with it, which is a good effect, is to use the wave. Now, the amplitude is simply how much it goes, and the cycles are the number of waves in it. But if you've got the amplitude whacked up so far, you really can't see what it's doing too well. So with a small amplitude and more waving, you see, you get different effects. Great for doing text on the front of cards if that's what you want to do. And also for getting different looks if you're doing engraving and things with a laser. Just something a little bit different. Okay, that's it for today. Thanks for watching. I'll see you again soon. Take care now.